Hello. Just to catch you up on what I've been watching and what you could be watching this Halloween season. Let's see. I won't go in chronological order because I won't be able to remember specifically, although Wednesday there was very little time. Not Wednesday. Wednesday would have been covered already. Thursday there wasn't as much time, and so we watched another of those movies that made us. This one about aliens, which is kind of a horror movie, but not a movie that we would watch during Halloween, but during the month of October because it's science fiction and there are other times to watch that, like all the time. Um, and Aliens is a great movie, and it was a very interesting documentary, as the other three had been. Um, we watched things this time. We kind of like finished off the planned streaming movies. Like at the beginning of the month, I found all the horror movies that were streaming that were available to us. Although I didn't count Tubi at the time. Now we have Tubi. Uh, but they and we finished up except for Rear Window, which isn't horror specifically. It's more suspense. But we're gonna, because it's Hitchcock, so we're gonna watch it. But it's the only one we didn't. Two of those movies were Critters and Puppet Master, and they were literally the bottom of the barrel. Obviously, the ones we were least excited to watch, and they were both okay. Um, Critters has Dee Wallace, from who is the mother in E.T., and she is the mother in Critters. And Critters is kind of like if E.T. was evil, which is kind of what E.T. 2 would have been. There was a treatment for E.T. 2 that you can find online, something like Nocturnal Terrors or something like that. And and Critters came out after E.T., so maybe E.T. 2 evolved into Critters. I don't know, and they just kept her on. Um, it was fun. Okay, and Puppet Master was interesting. Um, okay, I kind of half slept through that one, but I did see the way that they brought the puppets to life, and similarly to how they brought the critters to life in Critters. I am a sucker for those kinds of 80s special effects that are still mostly actual real puppetry. And Critters also had Terrence Mann as a kind of not quite kind of like David Bowie meets Bruce Springsteen rock star that an alien physical adopts the face of, and so he's playing the rock star. We see the rock star on TV, but then the alien sees the rock star and says, "I'm going to look like that so that humans aren't suspicious." And he's still wearing his alien costume and he's got the huge alien gun, but he thinks I will blend in if I look like this rock star. So that's those two. And on Friday, Friday is traditionally Disney Day or Disney Night as far as viewing goes, which started mostly because of Disney Plus shows airing on Fridays, but also kind of didn't want Disney Plus to take over our streaming when we were first watching stuff on Disney Plus, going through all the animated movies from 1937 to not quite the present, but as far as we wanted to go. And so Friday we watched The Haunted Mansion, the Eddie Murphy movie, and The Muppets Haunted Mansion, the Will Arnett movie. And good pairing. Haunted Mansion was one of the rides that I was most eager to go on when I went to Disney World right before the pandemic shut everything down. And I had kind of remembered seeing that movie, and we watched it when we first got Disney Plus, but I again kind of slept through portions of it. So I wanted to give it a real watch this time, and it came out the same year as the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie, and I guess that was the year Disney decided to turn its rides into movies. And I could just it's the similarities, not so much in quality, unfortunately, but similarities in beats that were hit. Like there is a significant character named Elizabeth. There is a curse. There is the part of the movie that is essentially the ride, where you see all the ghosts, and in Pirates it was, well, the whole thing is pretty much Pirates, but like they're going through the cemetery the characters are, and they're to see all the ghosts, and then at the end, there's a joke about the thing that happens at the end of the actual ride. And then there's kind of like there's a bit where Eddie Murphy looks in a mirror, and then he's suddenly undead Eddie Murphy in the mirror, which is kind of like what happens with Jack Sparrow toward the end of Pirates and the rest of the pirates throughout. There's a skeletons coming back to life and attacking. There's just so many similar beats that it's almost as though they wrote the movies in the same room, which maybe they kind of did, probably the same office building at least, and just, but then when it came time to actually make them, I don't want to say, but just the similar beats, not even story beats, but beats. What do you call them? Showpieces that were in both movies. That I just found that amusing. It's The Haunted Mansion. It's an okay movie. It's a fun movie. Eddie Murphy is fun. It's not his best. His best is The Nutty Professor. But it's fun. But the kid who plays his son is, I think, the best part of the movie. And this is a movie where Eddie Murphy has lines, and Jennifer Tilly has lines, and Wallace Shawn has lines, but the funniest line in the movie was delivered by the kid playing Eddie Murphy's son. It was, "I don't like Latin." And just the way that he delivers it, in the context, admittedly, so kudos to everyone who put that scene together. Context makes the line, but the way that he delivered it, especially, I can't even describe it, because to describe it wouldn't do justice. But the line is, "I don't like Latin," which many people have said it has not been as funny as this kid. And he had other great lines, too. And then The Muppet Christmas Carol was just a fun follow-up. It's what Disney put out. I don't remember much about it, other than Taraji P. Henson is very, very fun and funny in it. The Muppets are doing the Muppets thing. I'm more miss than hits with Muppet stuff, but I've seen very little Muppet stuff, and most of it more recent. So it was just nice to pair those two things together. Saturday, let's see. We were surprised how much we liked the movie Inheritance, with Lily Collins and an unrecognizable Simon Pegg. More of a thriller, and that was a kind of a lot of these movies we watched, they seemed creepy, and so we put them on the list. I put them on the list, but they were more thriller, suspense, psychological than actual monster or Halloween-y movies. But Inheritance was good. Another one of those was Cold Creek Manor, which we watched yesterday, about my fantasies about leaving New York City and moving upstate to not a manor house with a farm, but just a house, small house. And it had the youngest yet Kristen Stewart that I have seen. I know that she's known Twilight, but she was in movies before that, and I'd seen not Escape Room, but Panic Room, but she was even before that and much younger. Not much younger, but anyway, it was interesting to see very young Kristen Stewart. On Saturday, also, let's see, that was also Critters, and Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. And Abraham, I'm not saying that it's better than Lincoln, the Daniel Day-Lewis movie Lincoln, but it might have more to say to our current moment in history than the Daniel Day-Lewis, Steven Spielberg version of Lincoln. It's got a interesting, fun twist, and it's just, as far as historical figures hunting vampires, it's probably not a huge genre. It's pretty good. It's fun. I wouldn't buy it on DVD like I would buy the Daniel Day-Lewis, Steven Spielberg Lincoln, but I'll watch it maybe a couple more times over the course of my life. Benjamin Walker is a wonderful talent, and he's played two presidents in kind of unconventional tellings. The other one is Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson, the Broadway musical. So that, and we watched a documentary, The Golden Age of Horror, about the early days of the classic monster movies that I bought a set of. The Bela Lugosi Dracula, the Boris Karloff Frankenstein and the Mummy. So that was interesting. I half slept through much of that. when it gets later, I get tired. But I also really like staying up late, especially in the fall in October. Let's see how long I'm going. Okay, I'm at 10 minutes. And I've got a junk mail phone call. So just a little bit longer. Puppet Master was last, but what should have been, actually, Are You Afraid of the Dark was last, or maybe Puppet Master came after Are You Afraid of the Dark, but the climax of our last couple of days of Halloween movie watching was the movie Ghost, which again is not, strictly speaking, a horror movie, although it is creepy. It can be scary at times. Ghost is the Patrick Swayze, Whoopi Goldberg, Demi Moore, I think, movie, and where this guy is killed for money, and he doesn't go anywhere. He stays because he's got unfinished business, and that is to find out why he was killed and protect his girlfriend, and do this with the help of a medium played by Whoopi Goldberg to Oscar-winning effect. I've loved this movie for a long time. I think it's one of the first grown-up movies that I saw. A friend of my dad's parents, who lived nearby in the house kind of behind, like their backyards joined, lent it to us for some reason, and we watched it. And this was in Philadelphia, where we never watched Rocky, but we watched this movie. We were very young. I think it was my first, other than The Lion King, it was probably my first Whoopi Goldberg experience, and obviously it made an impression. And so I was very glad a couple weeks ago I found it on DVD. Should have brought it so I could show it. It's got this like Valentine's Day themed slipcover, but then the actual DVD looks like a regular DVD, and it is ultimately a love story. But it's got the subway ghost is perhaps the most monstrous, creepy thing, like grotesque, creepy thing. But he's also helpful. It's got various ghosts doing various things that to guide Patrick Swayze through being a ghost, and a little bit of mythology. It doesn't mention heaven or hell, but they are referenced physically with special effects, and the special effects, especially the hellish special effect, the representation of hell, is actually quite creepy. I remember being it's the most scary thing that I was scared by as a kid, and it is the most unsettling thing. I won't say too much about it, but the special effects, I wouldn't say they hold up as in they couldn't be done better today, but they don't need to be done better. It's kind of like what I was saying was practical effects, which I love. When it's really, really great, even though it's not perfect or as seamless as we would do it today, it doesn't necessarily need to be done better because it does fine. There's a moment toward the end of the movie when a ghost becomes visible to the non-dead, and it's just beautifully realized, and it would probably, again, be more perfectly done today, but just it doesn't need to be. It's really, really, it's more like a painting than a photograph, and I do so love painting. So that's the October Halloween viewing report for Monday, October 18th, and I'll see what I can. And definitely check out Ghost, maybe Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, and those are the two recommendations I would have specifically. But any of them could potentially be fun. Happy viewing.